may be aware, if you got an email recently, is Jim McBride. I'm the founder and president of Network for Progress, which used to be Generation Obama Washington, D.C., which means technically I've been doing this for 8 years. and one thing that we really want to do with these events and the community is to connect people to getting involved in our movement, whichever way you want to do it, and helping it succeed. And so we have two people with us here tonight that are actually really great examples of not just successes in their respective work, but are really they're pushing the envelope on what it means to be a Democrat and what it means to be a leader in our movement, and really moving it forward, which I remember Yes We Can, and I think we want to keep that spirit going. And so our first speaker is our new DC Council member, Brianne Nadeau. And she has a very interesting story about how she became, because as you know, in DC politics, it's Democrat versus Democrat. It's not like the rest of the country. So Brianne can talk to us a little bit about herself and what message she has for us as activists.
Thanks, Jim. It's so nice to be back here with you guys. Right after I won the primary, Jim invited me to come out and talk at a happy hour, and we had a good time. But it's even more fun to be out on the debate night because we get to see all of our candidates in action. So I'm very excited to be here with you. So I ran for DC Council in the 2014 election cycle. These are 4-year election cycles. And I actually ran to unseat a 4-term incumbent named Jim Graham. I don't know if you guys remember him. He was the one with the bow tie. A lot of scandal. And 2014 was a year when voters had decided they were tired. They were tired of a lot of things, but they were especially tired of people who abused their trust, people who were not on the up and up, and really looking for people who not only would do good in the legislative sphere, but also who were good people. And I decided that I wanted to challenge this guy and ran a ground game and a fundraising game that were really long. I was a candidate for 1,139 days. I counted. And raised something like $385,000 in $500 and smaller increments. And it was a really cool thing. I knocked thousands of doors, wore through a whole bunch of shoes, rallied hundreds of volunteers, and nobody thought that we could beat a 4-term incumbent, but the voters were ready. The voters were ready for someone who would work hard and for someone who would do what they say they were going to do and who would make them proud and not betray their trust. So we did that. On election day, in an election where, this is April 1st, 2014, an election where people were telling me I couldn't win, and we thought, based on our numbers, that maybe we'd win by a sweep, maybe by 100 votes or so. We won by 18%, which was pretty awesome. So the cool thing is that now I have this job where I go to work every day and write laws and participate in oversight hearings and develop the budget for the District of Columbia. We have a $13 billion budget. Most of it is locally raised. And for the most part, now that we have budget autonomy as of this year, everybody, this is our first budget that Congress didn't have to approve. That's exciting. Give yourselves a round of applause for that one. We're doing it. We're getting things done. And in the district, as Jim mentioned, it's mostly Democrats. We have some good independents who act a lot like Democrats, and we like them too. We actually don't have any Republicans on the DC Council right now. And the DC Council, for those of you who don't know, has 13 members. Those are our legislators for the entire state. So we don't have a state legislature, we don't have a county legislature. All we have is the DC Council. So all 13 of us are the only ones making your laws. Except for when Congress interferes, so then you've got another, 535 people making your laws. But we're trying to enact the will of the people. And so to transition from being a Democratic activist to being a Democratic legislator is not an easy thing, but it is. There is a clear path, because you take these values that we talked about on the campaign, and for us in Ward 1, where I am, and by the way, Ward 1, for those of you who don't know, that's U Street, Adams Morgan, Mount Pleasant, Columbia Heights, we've got Howard U, we've got LaDroit Park, pretty much all the best parts of the city, the best ward. For us, it's affordable housing. It's education, it's jobs, it's the things that everybody care about. It doesn't matter where you came from, who you are, what color your skin is, how old you are. These are the issues that you care about. And Ward 1 is actually the most diverse ward in the district, so it's a snapshot. And we can really use it not as a laboratory, because I don't experiment on my constituents, but it's really a breeding ground, so to speak, for great ideas and pilots and things like that. So what I'm really excited about is when you go into a new job like this and people have already told you what they care about, you can just march forward. So this council has been moving forward on democratic ideas, and I'm really excited about it. Before I got there, we raised the minimum wage, and so we're up at 13, about to be 13, and there's probably going to be a ballot initiative to raise it to 15, and that's the voters, by the way. The voters put that on the ballot if that comes. We just introduced family leave for 16 weeks, which would be the most progressive public initiated policy in the country. I don't know if you guys read about us in Vox. We're Vox famous now. Yep, that's when you make it in policy, when you make it on Vox. And that's something I'm really proud of.
Ezra Klein.
That's right.
In case you didn't know.
That's right. We legalized marijuana. We haven't been able to implement that yet. You guys need someone to canvass against this next cycle. Andy Harris is my first choice over in the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I've done that before. Get him out. He can stop adding riders to the budget to tear apart our laws. We're still working on big issues that everyone across the country is working on. How to prevent gun violence. We had some of the most progressive laws in the country, and now they've been gutted by the courts. And so this is something we still struggle with, and this is something that Democrats should be concerned about, because it's happening all across the country. And here in our own backyard, we had a really violent summer, and we're not empowered to do anything about it. And I'll tell you, when you look at the statistics of what happened this summer in the District of Columbia, most of the violent crimes were petty crimes that were armed, right? So you stepped on my foot at the block party, I'm going to shoot you. You looked at my girlfriend funny, I'm going to shoot you. These are things that, had those people not had access to violent weapons, could have been settled, perhaps not politely, but, less violently, right? With their fists or, whatever else. And these are the things that make me lose sleep at night, because we can't get those guns off the street because of the way the courts are treating us. We have fully implemented Obamacare. We're very proud of that. We have a really high functioning healthcare exchange, and I mentioned that tonight for obvious reasons. I worked on Capitol Hill when we were getting that law passed, and it's something I'm really proud of, but it's something that I think about when we consider who our next president will be, who our next Speaker of the House will be, and how we're going to be able to carry forward that mission of making sure that everybody has health care. And here in the District of Columbia, we actually had a very progressive health care law before the Affordable Care Act, and that is our Health Alliance. And that's health care we make available to our immigrant population. So people who do not have documentation, who are not eligible for other government programs, in DC they can get health care. And now we're working to expand that and make it better, because it was a good program and now everybody has health care, so it's not as good as that. So we now need to bring that up to the standards of Affordable Care Act. I've been a Democrat my whole life, and as a kid that meant that I was out knocking on doors for the school board candidate with a little red wagon, which is super cute, because when you're 11, people can't slam the door on you without feeling like a jerk. It works. I definitely had kids canvassing for me. It works every time. I grew up in Michigan, actually, and I grew up in a family that was really progressive. We were working for candidates. We cared about causes. whether it was Planned Parenthood or it was an environmental cause, it was all going on in my household. And then when I left home for college in Boston, I got involved in gubernatorial races. I ended up working for a congressional district office and just stayed really engaged. And it was really natural for me to come here. But what's crazy about that is you can spend your whole life as a Democrat engaging around politics, and then you move to the nation's capital, and all of a sudden you're totally disenfranchised. And that's all of us who are registered to vote here in the District of Columbia. We have no voting representation in Congress. We don't have a state. And it's up to the 13 of us to keep all our laws in order, which is crazy for 600,000 people. So my message to all of you is that we really need to make some progress on statehood. And I think for those of us who care about democratic values, the thing that is going to move us forward in the district, because right now we're a little petri dish of progressivism, right? We're testing everything out here, but it can only go so far. Once we have statehood, our laws are our laws, and Congress cannot do anything about it, which is pretty awesome, because I don't know if you've looked at Congress lately, but it is a scary place. So you're going to hear from me in the years to come and in the immediate future about how important statehood is and how we need all the Democrats to organize around statehood and to register all their friends. I have to tell you, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands about how many people are registered in the district, but when I was knocking on doors in Ward 1, which is a neighborhood that's experiencing a lot of change, I would knock on the door of somebody who I thought was a high propensity Democrat, and it would be somebody new. And I would say, well, great, it's nice to meet you. I'm going to register you right now. And they would say something like, oh no, I'm going to vote in Pennsylvania, or oh no, I'm going to vote in Ohio, or oh no, I'm going to vote in Massachusetts. And here I thought, as a young person knocking on doors, I was going to get young people to register, and I was going to get them to participate in the process. And I was wrong, because people do not want to give up their fundamental right for representation in our federal government. And so what we have to do is get that right for everybody who lives here. So you'll hear more about it. I don't want to take up all your time, but thank you so much for the opportunity to join you.
We have time for like one or two questions for Brianne, I guess. Does anybody have a pressing question for Brianne? Well, I don't know how many more
Questions I can say, but if there aren't, I'm not offended.
You can catch Brianne before she leaves. She'll stick around for a few more minutes, and feel free to ask her any questions you may have.
Why don't I stick around for the debate?
What? She's too busy for Democratic.
I have two debate parties tonight. I gotta get to the young Dems while they'll still take me. I got one more year of eligibility.
You mean you're hitting 30?
I like the way you think.
All right, our next speaker has been a great advocate for the issue that I know that some of you are thinking about, especially if you're a Bernie supporter or O'Malley or whoever, is the issue of the debate schedule. As well, I'll let Simon Rosenberg, the expert, speak, introduce it to you. But it got hot in the news the other day, and I can elaborate on that further later. But Simon is the founder of the New Democrat Network. He's worked in the Clinton War Room. He was one of GQ's top 50 political players a few years ago. He's a Fox News contributor. He's gone up against O'Reilly recently. And so he's been quoted in the Washington Post and had some op-eds in Time and MSNBC websites about this issue, and he's going to give you his take and probably some recommendations.
So first of all, I want to thank Jim for not only getting us together tonight, but for all these years of work. Can we give him a round of applause? I think this is the second time I've been with you guys over the years, and it's just really exciting to be back. And so I'm going to be really brief because I'll speak for a little bit and then take a couple questions. And I want to be upbeat and excited, right? Because tonight's a big night for the Democrats. We finally are having our first debate after watching the Republicans do their thing over the last couple of months. But because the reason I'm here and the reason I've been speaking out about the debate schedule, and one of the things that Jim and I were talking about is that You know, I ran for party chairman against Howard Dean 10 years ago, and I came one vote away in the final weekend from winning that race. And it was a very competitive race between me and Governor Dean. And part of that race, I championed the idea of expanding the early primary window to include a southern and southwestern state on top of Iowa and New Hampshire. And even though I didn't win, that argument actually won the day and was adopted in 2005. And I helped make sure that our party was able to make sure that Black and Hispanic voters, people of color, could meaningfully participate in the picking of their Democratic nominee, which is something that was really not possible before because Iowa and New Hampshire really don't look like the rest of the country. In the very first election, after we expanded that window to include South Carolina and Nevada, look what happened, right? When we elected an African-American president, and we really changed history. So these things matter. The way that the process of picking and choosing the nominee really matters. And so the second thing is that I think the election next year is going to be very close. And I think it's really important to imagine what happens if the Republicans win the presidency, have the Senate, keep the House, right, with the crazy people that are beginning to emerge as leaders in their party. I've got 3 kids who are growing up here in D.C. I don't want to see that happen, right? And I'm going to work very hard, as of all of you, to make sure that doesn't happen, which is why the debate schedule matters, right? So here's where we are. In 2008 cycle, there were 26 Democratic debates. By this point, there had been 11 debates already in the 2007-2008 cycle. And I don't know about you, but I think things went pretty well for us in 2008. Our nominee got 53% of the vote. He got 51% of the vote in 2012. The last time that a Democrat did that well was in 1940 and 1944. It was the best showing for a Democrat in 70 years in back-to-back elections. So the debate schedule last time actually helped contribute to one of the best showings that we'd had in 40 years. And so why did we change it, right? This time we're going down to 6. We're going from 26 to 6. And what's important to recognize is that not only do we only have 6, right, but the Republicans have created a far better schedule than ours. And let me go through this really quickly. And on my website at ndn.org, you can read more. And I want to just leave time for 1 or 2 questions. They have 11 debates. We have 6. As of right now, based on the current 6 that we have, 2 are in prime time during the week. And they will have 9 of their 11 in prime time during the week. When the voting starts next year, because the calendar is very compressed next year, we could have a nominee in both parties by March 15th. By comparison, Hillary didn't drop out until June of 2008, right? Our process went all the way to June. 60% of the country votes between February 1st and March 15th. And during that period, in the first 10 weeks of next year, when everyone's voting, right? And the studies show, by the way, that no matter how wealthy our candidates are, they're not going to be able to run ads in 21 states in 14 days. They're not going to be able to door knock in those states. They're not going to be able to do candidate appearances. There will be states that vote in that March window who never get a candidate appearance by any candidate running for president. Just the way the math works in this thing. We know from empirical evidence that if we aren't speaking to our voters, they don't turn out, right? And the only way we're going to be able to really reach this 60% of the country is by having a very vigorous debate schedule to make sure people are still connecting to the candidates as they go to vote, right? So during that window early next year, when everyone's going to go vote, 21 states, 14 days, a lot of big states, the Republicans have 6 debates in English, and we have 2, right? And what it means is that we're going to lose that opportunity for party building, we're going to have lower turnout in the primaries, and the scale of the free media, right, given that their debates are, they have a very different primary, right? They've got 15 candidates, they've got Donald Trump, right, a media star. CNN's largest, most viewed event in the history of the network, right, was the debate they did. They've been getting 25 million people a debate. We're going to be lucky to get 10 million people tonight at this debate. And what it means is that if you accumulate that over time, right, 11 to 6, they're going during the week, we're going on weekends and holidays, right? The New Hampshire debate is on the Saturday before Christmas, after schools are out in New Hampshire on a Saturday night in the dead of winter, right? I mean, how many people are going to watch that debate? Even this debate tonight, New York Mets and the Los Angeles Dodgers are playing, right? I'm an old Mets fan, right? I mean, 2 of the biggest cities in the country. This was not well scheduled, right? It was scheduled against these very high viewed events. So the point is, when you add up all of the impressions they're getting, right? And remember, impressions in TV matter. People pay millions of dollars to get ads on, to get in front of voters, right? Or get in front of, for consumer products. They are easily going to have hundreds of millions of additional impressions during the course of this debate season, more than our candidates will under the current schedule. And hundreds of millions is hundreds of millions of dollars of free media that we gave up on purpose. And the scale of that is enough to cause us to lose the election in 2016. It's that significant, right? Because it's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of media and impressions that our candidates aren't getting. And so when you hear folks from our party say, hey, we're excited that they're getting so many people watching them, they're looking so extreme, it's going to kill them at the end. Find me one poll in the country right now where Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton are beating all the Republicans in the general election. There isn't a single one. And so the point is, while they've gotten this exposure, their numbers have gone up and ours have gone down. It's pretty simple, right? This isn't complicated stuff. It's why people spend so much money on television and paid advertising. So what I've laid out on my website is ways to improve this. The thing I wrote over the weekend is we do 3 simple things. One is we move the New Hampshire debate to a time when people are going to see it. New Hampshire's an important state. It's going to be critical. If you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, I'd be pretty upset. The one state you're doing so well in is the one state the DNC is really burying in the debate schedule, right? The second is that we've got to add another debate during the week in a big state in that March window when everyone's voting. From March 1st to March 15th, 21 states, 14 days, at least twice as many states as we'll be competing for in the general election, right? It's that big. It's crazy. We've never had a calendar like this. And the third thing is, if our election goes to June, right now what Debbie Wasserman Schultz has said is that the last English language debate we're going to have is on February 11th. Even if this thing goes to June, she said no more debates. And so 3 things. Move New Hampshire so people can watch it during the week, right in prime time. Second is add 1 more debate. Third is, say there could be more debates. And the fourth thing that I raised, and this is where I want to challenge you, is, well, let's think of other ideas, right? What else could we be doing? How do we use all these modern tools and this new media, right? The New Hampshire party convention was 2 weeks ago. The DNC didn't even live stream it, right? They should be live streaming every single candidate forum. They should be thinking about, we've got to get creative. And they can't figure it out, you guys should, right? I mean, we should all get involved in this, because this is our party. It's not Debbie Wasserman Schultz's party, it's our party, right? And so what I'm here to do tonight, Jim, thanks for the opportunity, is to say you should not be satisfied with what we have. We are guaranteeing an enormous deficit in impressions going into what is going to be a brutally competitive general election that if we lose, this, imagine what could happen, right, given where the Republican Party is going. So this matters. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope that you will let your voice and opinion about this known at the DNC. Don't be shy. It's your party too, right? We all got to step up. I did. Help me make your voice heard in the coming weeks.
We can take 1 or 2 questions, I guess. Raise your hand high.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you were first, probably. Yeah.
Sorry, I understand and I agree with what you're saying. But I just have a lot of friends all over the world who ask me, from Australia to Dubai to Slovenia to England to Iceland, who ask me, what's going on with American politics? Why is it so long? Why is it so expensive? So to say, I understand the impressions that makes total sense. But one reason why our elections are so expensive because they're so long. So how can we go about making this a much more rational, shorter period of time to elect a president, not a king, less money? I think what you're saying is great, but I think at the same time, by adding 10 debates, it's like, really? I kind of know the issues by now. I know what's going on. For me, it's adding additional information.
But not what voters don't. I mean,
Not a Donald Trump voter.
I mean, the point is the calendar. So 2 things, right? Money spent means more turnout. I mean, one of the things that people have to realize is that the studies show this. I mean, we know that if voters don't see ads, door knocking, debates, if there isn't a campaign, right, that's intense in their state or their district, right, turnout goes way down. This is proven. And so one thing is the expense creates turnout. And so first of all, the second thing is the debates last time started in April of 2007 and went till June of 2008. They went over 16 months, right? Our debates this time are going over a 5-month period, so it's a much shorter window. Our system is just different than everybody's system. We don't have a parliamentary democracy. I mean, we can discuss all the differences. I'm not going to defend the system that we have today, but I'll just say it's a very simple fact that whatever our party thought, whether the 6 debates that we had were the right debates, the right combination, the Republicans out-innovated us. They built a better schedule. It's far better than ours. And either we match or we're going to pay a price. And that's part of the argument, is that we've got to close the gap in impressions that's going to come in this election. How we fix future elections, happy to come back and talk about it after 2016.
Thank you. Real quick, what do you think the motivation is behind the strategy behind the DNC to not be as competitive?
I don't know what the motivation was, but I know that it was a mistake and it should be fixed. And I think that we can get caught up over that, and I just don't know why. Look, before I went into politics, I was a TV producer for ABC News and wrote and produced primetime television shows. I know the business, right? I mean, I've got friends who work at CNN that I worked with many years ago, and what I can tell you is that, you know, I think the DNC thought they had a good schedule. And then the Republicans announced a better schedule. And I think that what we've got to be worried about is matching what they've done. That's all. And I've been doing a lot of national media about this. I get asked this all the time. I don't really know. Because the truth is, if you're a Hillary person, right, what do you want more than anything else in the world right now? You want her speaking directly to voters as often as possible, because you know that she's a good candidate, who's articulate, who can speak for herself, and she's been unable to break through all the email stuff that's been going on. So you, in some ways, I would argue that the candidate of the Democrats who needs these debates more than anyone else is Hillary Clinton. And so I don't really believe that the Clinton people are behind this process.
Right. So being that had the prestige that you have, do you have a direct line to the chairwoman?
I have spoken to many people at the DNC, Tulsi Gabbard. You know, let me just also make sure everybody understands, right? Who else is for a better debate schedule? Bernie Sanders, right? Martin O'Malley, Nancy Pelosi, Howard Dean, 2 of the 5 vice chairs of the Democratic Party, tons of state folks all around the country. I mean, when I tweeted on this the first time, the Clinton campaign chairman in New Hampshire, who I worked with when I was in New Hampshire in 1992, tweeted publicly, "Simon, you got to help us move the damn debate schedule in New Hampshire. No one's going to watch it," right? This was the Clinton chairman. So this isn't really a Clinton, O'Malley, Sanders thing. This is us recognizing that the rules of the road are changing. Reince Priebus may be a better chairman than we realized going into this. And, we can't go sleepwalking into what is going to be a brutally tough election. I'll just say this. I think Democrats are unbelievably complacent right now. And I think there's this general sense that Hillary's going to come in and all the talented Clinton people are going to come in and win this thing at some point and everything's going to be fine. Well, I was one of the first 50 people on the Clinton campaign in 1992, and it didn't really work out that way in 2007 and 2008. We cannot rely. It's like Luke Skywalker going and shooting the Death Star, right? We can't rely on that shot getting through. We've got to do our part, right? And so the point is that that's what a party's for. It's not relying on a candidate. We're a party. And we've got to do a better job at making sure that we don't come out of this thing. Because I'll tell you right now, you go back in 07 and 08, Barack Obama, to some degree, had won this thing in the primaries, right? Even though it got closer in the general, he came out so strong from that brutal primary process of defeating Hillary Clinton, right? And I will tell you, for all these years I've been doing this, the candidates that come out the strongest are the ones who have brutal, tough primaries. They come out battle-tested with the campaign. I certainly know that was true in the Clinton campaign in '92. And so I think one of the things that I'm excited about is that we are going to have a vigorous primary. And I think this will go on for some time. Our voters in these big states like Virginia and Ohio, they need, in the weeks before they go vote, they need to hear from the candidates. They shouldn't be relying on impressions from November, right? It's not fair to them, and it's not good for our party.
Is there an opportunity to change the schedule?
I think that if enough voices are loud enough, right, and if you guys just send in emails or call the DNC and say, and my advice is, we just want a better schedule. It's not just more debates. It's that the debates we have are not in the right place. They're not with the right media partners. Go to my website, ndn.org. There's an enormous amount of resources on this. I'm going to continue. I think my family and my staff think I've gone crazy for spending so much time on this. And Debbie didn't invite me to the debate tonight, for example, in Nevada. But that's okay, right? I mean, I'm doing this because I really care about winning. and we need to do a better job if we want to win next year. So thanks, everybody. Good luck tonight, whoever your candidate is. And thanks to Jim. The great club.
Summarize something. Anyway, John Stewart. Basically, I want to encourage everyone that if you want to have a voice in the Democratic Party and our movement, please go for it. And I will be trying to do some things. Feel free to do, Simon's doing things, but this is the time, it's a perfect time to have an influence on the schedule. And frankly, the schedule is not the beginning and the end of this. There was a Democratic autopsy that was done, like the Republicans did in 2012. The final one has not been released. We technically do not have a strategy that's public to win in 2016. So, and I can go on about the need for paid interns to elevate the caliber of our talent pool and all kinds of things that we can do to engage voters better and supporters, especially in some cases. So I want to encourage you to think about that. If you look at Bernie, you look at Barack Obama, there's been a lot of success stories by engaging the public. And so I think what we'll do now is just introduce a couple of the couple folks that are partners and or are involved in the race. Where are the O'Malley folks? Raise your hand. You're with the O'Malley campaign? Okay, we have some folks who do the O'Malley campaign, so... Oh no, wait, are you the representative? Is anybody here from the O'Malley campaign? Still. Alright, well, I don't know where they are, but if they show up while we're talking... But we have... our two sponsors are General Assembly, the Tech and Business School, where you can learn a lot about tech and business, but also organizing. Jeremy Kulish has a new website called DC Future, and he will, and he just took a class and learned how to do a website.
I just learned how to build DCFuture.com through General Assembly.
Okay, so is Kendrick around? You can have him introduce himself? All right, well, is Kendrick here? Well, in the meantime, okay. Kendrick, do you want to just say a few words? Or?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. You guys made lots of progress, and you guys do much today. All of that. So my name is Kendrick Jackson, audience development producer here at General Assembly. Quick raise of hands just to get a pulse check of the audience and then get you guys to get some blood flowing. How many of you have heard of General Assembly before? Sweet, it's going to be real short. So basically we are an education institution. We focus on turning thinkers into creators, and we do that by teaching classes on design, computer programming, data science, mobile development. I'm in that class right now. I'm like the weakest one in that class right now, but I'm going to be a mobile developer in about 10 weeks. And then as well as digital marketing, visual design, and user experience design. These are really tailored for individuals who are trying to do one of three things. You're either trying to make that leap into a completely different career because you're just tired of what you do. Maybe your bachelor's is the one thing that you just realized that wasn't the right move. So you want to add a design or a technical skill to that. Maybe you are happy in the industry that you're in. You're hitting that glass ceiling and you can't hit that six-figure income that you're looking for because you don't have those design or technical skills. So we'll help you with that. And then the small but growing group of individuals are entrepreneurs who are saying, I don't want to work for anyone ever again. And I want to build out my own idea, and I want to either get the technical skills in either creating my own website, building out my own digital marketing campaign, my own mobile app, do some data science because I want to scrape some data, whether I'm a civic hacker or whatever. So we can help you with that. If you take our full-time program, we have some alumni here. It's a 12-week program, either in design or in web development. And we have an outcome attached to that. And that outcome is within 90 days, 90% of all of our graduates have a full-time job. My university didn't do that for me, unfortunately. But I do want to let you guys know that we do have some skin in the game in regards to that. So please swing by campus for something free, something that you're interested in. And I highly recommend that you do that. So we're normally, this is our B site. Our campus is actually on 1133 15th Street. We always tell people, don't ask me what you do. Like I'm from Arlington, so I consider myself from this area. I don't consider myself from DC. I'm from Arlington. I'm proud of that. But I usually don't ask people what they do. I ask people what they're passionate about, and it strikes a much more intriguing conversation. So I really encourage all of you to do that. Ask individuals what they're passionate about, not about what they do, because you may find out more about somebody than they were willing to tell you if you just ask them what they do. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it back over to Jim, and we'll take it from there. Enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. George Washington University's Graduate School of Political Management. GA is providing the drinks, and they're providing the pizza.
So, let's see, is this on? Hello? Oh. So thank you all for coming out. My name is Jonathan McGee. I'm here to represent the Graduate School of Political Management at the George Washington University. And I'm not going to take too much of your time, but for all of you all who are here, who's heard of the George Washington University's Graduate School of Political Management? Raise your hand. Okay. So for folks thinking about grad school or undergrads who are interested in going to grad school, the Graduate School of Political Management is the first and foremost school of applied politics in the nation. So our mantra is politics, especially in this political environment, trumps policy. As you all know, you need to know how to navigate the political process in order to advance any policy that you want to push forward. We have about 4 tracks. We have our political management program, which I'm an alum of. We have our legislative affairs program, our strategic public relations program, and our newest program, advocating in a global environment. These programs will teach you those fundamental practical skills. So all of our professors are adjuncts. So they're folks who work in the field. These aren't people who are theorizing about what works, they're telling you what works. So you're learning about campaign strategy, communication strategy, polling, targeting, grassroots advocacy, fundraising, all of those political skills that are necessary to be a political manager and political strategist and operative in this day's age and environment. So here at the GSPM, we say we're 360 degrees, but as you see, I got all donkeys here because we are Democrats, and although we have people from all spectrums, we want to learn how to work together. And so our goals at the GSPM is to build those coalitions. How do we come together and actually do what we were meant to do, which is work together and compromise? So with that, I'll also talk about groundbreaking initiatives that we're doing here at the GSPM called the Public Echoes of Rhetoric in America. So as you all know, back in the day, the presidency was decided on, how we're playing Peoria. So the way that we're doing that now is we're measuring rhetoric of presidential candidates. So we're looking at social media. We're looking at different, things that they're saying in the news to really try to track how that will determine what they will end up in, what position they'll end up in. So I hope you all can go to our site, gspm.gwu. It's a great school. We've had people and alumni who have gone to be in the state legislature. We have international students that are all across the world. We have global immersion programs where you can learn how to advocate for a cause or a commerce in Asia, Turkey, Istanbul, all of these different countries, Brussels. Really just to learn, global advocacy and domestic advocacy. So if you guys would like more information, I'll be here all night. We have our recruiters' information on the table. Please take some of these donkeys, which have our information on them. And I really hope that you all look into us, and I hope that you all consider the GSPM. So thank you for that.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and then right before the debate, we'll draw the raffle and make a couple other announcements. The one thing I wanted to help summarize what Simon was saying is think about, it may or may not come up in these debates, because the debates are usually about policy, but think about who's articulating not just what they believe in and what they support, but how are they going to accomplish it? Because right now, none of these candidates can accomplish anything in a Republican Congress. We don't even really have a Republican Congress. So please think about that. Don't observe just what the Democratic Party is doing in terms of debates, but what are these candidates doing? Are they knocking on your door? Are they active on Twitter? Are they active on Facebook? Are they sharing their videos, content of the candidate? think about who's best at outreach and who is best at organizing and having events that you actually attend because you know about them. Because frankly, simple things like that can be a challenge in politics very often. And so that's why an Open Gov Hub is a great venue for us to talk about a more open politics. And I hope you'll think about how we can bring more progressive and democratic values to the party in terms of our engagement and our governing strategies, not just what policy, what the minimum wage is, or where you stand on what issue. It's much more important because Donald Trump is not succeeding just because of his policy acumen. It's because he's out there every day. And that freaking hat is the smartest hat since Barack Obama ran for office with that damn logo of the sun rising, with the O. So Make America Great Again has replaced hope and change. And so I want us to think about what movement building is all about. My background's in media relations. I've been doing communications and media for over 20 years. I've done it for the firefighters right after 9/11. I've done it for Silicon Valley companies. I did it for Manhattan companies. And so I usually don't talk about that, but I was an original organizer for Obama in Virginia. I've done this for a long time, and it's really important that we get out there and make the change in all aspects of our movement. So think about that, and we'll pull the raffle right before the debate. And we have one thing that I want to point out is we have a website that we're promoting tonight with a couple other apps that we're going to be promoting later. But we have representatives from inhersite.com who can talk to you about how you can rate different organizations you work with, whether they're political or otherwise. Okay, whatever. And share give out feedback on the organizations you work with in hopes to kind of like Yelp, make the organizations in our movement better, the organizations in DC better. So they're right there, and they have computers, and they'll make an announcement right before the debate. But I just wanted to point them out right there. So and it's geared toward women. So if you're a woman who wants to, as an organization you've had a good or bad experience with, as a professional, they can help you spread the word about it. So thank you very much for coming, and feel free to mingle and network before the debate.